You're watching NFL Daily, filmed live as part of NFL Daily After Hours, exclusively on Rumble. One trade candidate, exclusively live on Rumble, one trade candidate for each NFL team, beginning about L.J. Collier of the Seattle Seahawks, a name we've mentioned in trade talks for a very long time. Former first-round pick, has been a bust, has shown the occasional flash. I think if Seattle could get something for him, they would. They have not yet. Former fourth-round pick Bobby Evans, the Oklahoma guard, member of the LA Rams, has never quite gotten all the way there, and NFL teams are craving offensive line. You saw what Cody Ford went for? Fifth-round pick? I think Evans, also from OU, could go for a sixth or seventh-round pick. He might not make the team. So it's not a big name, but it is a good name to keep an eye out for if the Rams are trying to trade for more assets or if you are a team looking for interior offensive line depth. Andy Isabella, much like N'Keal Harry, has been on the trade block for an extended period of time, in the sense that, who wants him? He's an undersized receiver who has great downfield speed but can't track the football well and doesn't run routes well enough to be a slot receiver. It's a bad combination. I don't think there's much value there. He could easily be cut, by the way, for Arizona. How about this one? Shout out my boy Chase Sr. for the suggestion. Trey Sermon, who was the third-round pick from Ohio State, and then the Niners did the thing they always do with their draft picks at running back under, or some of them, I should say, under Kyle Shanahan. You guys remember Joe Williams? Sermon's in that mold. I could see them keeping Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, and new third-round pick Tyrion Davis-Price. That could leave Sermon on the outside in. Plus JaMychal Hasty, I doubt they're going to carry four backs this year. Maybe they do. Sermon could be an under-the-radar trade candidate for a team looking for some running back depth. Not on this list, Jimmy Garoppolo. Too easy of a name. We've talked about Jimmy G a lot here on NFL Daily, so I want to go a different direction there. But make your predictions. Will the Niners end up trading Jimmy Garoppolo? Y for yes, N for no. Let's go to Tre'Quan Smith now. Saints, for the first time in a while, have depth at wide receiver. Smith is at best going to be wide receiver 4-ish, I think. And if you can get a pick for him, maybe you just let other players emerge off the depth chart and save some money by dumping Smith. Cam Erving might be like the number 8 or 9 O lineman in Carolina, but it could be a swing for some other teams. And if that's the case, maybe a team makes an offer, allowing Carolina to recoup some of the draft capital they've lost in recent years from the Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield trades. That's funny. Tampa has all of the receivers, and that's not an exaggeration. Tyler Johnson is receiver 5, 6, 7, 8 for them. They have 9 different wide receivers who are either draft picks or have played meaningful snaps in the NFL. Evans, Godwin, Gage, Julio, because why the hell not? Tyler Johnson, Darden, Rashad Perryman, Scotty Miller, Cyril Grayson, plus some guys you've never heard of there. That makes Johnson, a former Minnesota product, a prime trade candidate for a team that needs offensive line help. Number 8 on our list, and for the Falcons, Deion Jones, the linebacker, who we've talked about before here on the channel. He's in a tricky spot. He's finally off the PUP list for Atlanta, but has a very hefty contract. And that makes things complicated because how do you afford that situation? It's just dicey from that standpoint there. I think Falcons would love to trade him. I don't know who wants him, though. So the pinned comment on today's show is a 2-part ask, so take your time if an ad break happens to play here. Head down to the comment section, type in your favorite team, and in the same comment, let me know a player you want them to move away. Do it at the pinned comment, especially if an ad plays right now on YouTube. Amari Rodgers, the Packers receiver who didn't do anything last year. I think he makes the team. He was a draft pick, but Aaron Rodgers really wants Randall Cobb. They might go with like Samori Toure as their other backup receiver. I think he makes the team, but I wouldn't rule out a surprise trade of Rodgers. The Bears, probably not Tevin Jenkins, probably not Roquan Smith. I think Robert Quinn, though, is a prime mid-season trade candidate. The Bears are probably not going to be a playoff team. Let's be honest. They're going to, be, I think, a bottom feeder with an overhaul from a organizational standpoint. So if you're, 2-6 or whatever, trade Quinn. Get a draft pick back. Get maybe a Von Miller package for him after he had 18.5 sacks last year, an insane figure. So of these guys, the three names you kind of mentioned, who are the Bears most likely to trade? RQ for Robert Quinn, RS for Roquan Smith, or TJ for Tevin Jenkins. The Lions, I'm going to go with Big V, the offensive lineman, a.k.a. Halapoulivaati Vaitai, the offensive lineman, formerly of the Eagles, now a Detroit Lion. Big name, big contract as well. I kind of want to let Jonah Jackson, Logan Sternberg be your guys at guard. If you can find a taker, I would absolutely trade Big V, a.k.a. Halapoulivaati Vaitai. I think I got that right, by the way, which is awesome for me. Maybe I didn't. If not, yell at me in the comments. Kellen Mond. Yeah, he sucks, guys. I'm sorry. The Vikings, they tried to hype up Kellen Mond in OTAs and minicamp, and they got to the preseason and went, oh, shit, he sucks. He's not good. And they traded for Nick Mullins because Sean Mannion's also bad. Kellen Mond ain't it. Frankly, I don't think he's ever been it. I think he was overhyped coming out of A&M. I was not high on him. And in the words of Mike Zimmer, I've seen enough of him, which is a paraphrase, but also not really. More defensive guys here, or NFC guys, I should say. Excuse me, it's an offensive player. Darius Slayton. Now, maybe the Colin Johnson injury saves his job. The Giants would save a couple $1 million if they trade him. Big production, 2019, his rookie year. Like, oh, we found a gem. 2020, dips, but like the yards and catches were pretty similar, just fewer TDs. 2021. Not great. Maybe we just blame the quarterback there. But the Giants are overhauling their offense. If they could find a trade partner, I think he'd be moved. Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle for Philadelphia. Now, the Eagles love O-linemen, as they should. Dillard played a little bit last year after being a former first-round pick before losing his job at left tackle to Jordan Mailata. He just struggles on the right side. He's not good over there. But there are teams who need a left tackle. And in that scenario, Dillard makes sense, but I don't think Philly would give him away for nothing because he's a good offensive lineman. It's really hard to find those guys. Trysten Hill, the Cowboys defensive tackle, former second-round pick. Look, he hasn't played well in his NFL career. He simply hasn't been that good. He's had like a half sack, a couple TFLs, non-existent production out of Hill for a top 65 pick, top 64 pick. But he has been better at camp and the preseason. He might not make the roster. I think he either makes it in Dallas or he might actually fetch something back via trade. A shocking name next up here, Antonio Gibson. And I don't think he gets dealt, but Antonio Gibson has had fumbling issues way too often with the Commanders. They draft Brian Robinson. They give J.D. McKissick an extension. Gibson, at minimum, is going to be a rotational player now. So don't draft in fantasy. But could you trade him? Could a team make an offer for you? Former third-round pick? It's possible. I have been disappointed by him so far. I don't think he gets dealt, but it is a sexier name to include on this list. Now, this video aired originally on Rumble. It's part of NFL Daily After Hours, the exclusive live segment. So if you're not already following us, get over there. Rumble.com/NFL Daily. Hit that big green button right now. The Chargers, we go to the AFC now. Jerry Tillery. The production was better for LA last year, but there's a reason why they threw so many picks along the defensive line. They are not sold on him. He could be dealt, but I think he gets one more shot in LA. I think the Raiders would love to trade Clelin Ferrell. Get that contract off the books. They owe him $9 million a year. They can't cut him. He's too expensive with a fully guaranteed deal to cut. But if a team says, you know what, we will take Ferrell's almost $5 million salary in exchange for a late day 3 pick, kind of think the Raiders would jump all over that. Unfortunately, the John Gruden, Mike Mayock era was a kind of a disaster for drafting players. So let me know in the comments section who your team's most recent NFL draft bust is. Remember, to be a true draft bust, it should probably be a first-round pick. Like the third-round guy you drafted who sucked, it's not that big of a deal. Pick a big bust for your favorite team. Harrison Graham, our Chiefs report host, says Mecole Hardman could be a trade chip. Justin Watson, yeah, that Justin Watson, Bucs legend, has emerged in KC. Hardman has never quite put it all together. I don't know if he will, so he could be a trade chip in KC. Let's go to Malik Reed in Denver, who I think maybe got a bit overhyped by some around the Broncos, but Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, Nick Bonito, and now Baron Browning playing some edge, and Jonathan Cooper, who I loved relative to where he was taken out of Ohio State. I think Malik Reed could easily be dealt. Kareem Hunt wanted a trade. The new trend, by the way, in the NFL, trade me. 3 days later, I'm back, guys. Hi, good to see you. That was Kareem Hunt for Cleveland because there's just no leverage now for players, or Kevin Durant apparently. I don't think Hunt gets dealt, but if the Browns are bad, if they go 0-6 with Brissett, maybe you trade Hunt then and get assets to help as you embrace the tank with no first-round pick, I guess. Speaking of recent busts, Devin Bush. I'm sorry, bud. I liked him a lot coming out of Michigan. Ever since that injury, he just doesn't look confident out there. The numbers fell off a cliff last year in 2021. He just doesn't look like he has it anymore, and that's kind of disappointing. All right, the Bengals. Jesse Bates, the safety. Again, I think he stays, but he did show up back at camp. He signed his tender. He can be traded now. I am very curious to see what the Bengals do because they're not going to pay Bates. They're not going to give him the money he wants and will get elsewhere. I think they keep him for a year to take the comp pick. But if the team goes, we'll give you a second rounder, you can roll with Von Bell, Dax Hill for a year. That's fine at safety. So if the Bengals want to, they can. Not that I would suggest it. Chuck Clark, look at that, back-to-back safeties. You draft Kyle Hamilton, you sign Marcus Williams, you now have 3 starting safeties, but do you want to start all 3? I'm not so sure. Isaiah Wynn has been heavily linked in trade conversations, apparently, which is weird to me because he's a good football player. A bit expensive, though. If I were New England, I would not have dealt Shaq Mason. I would not be shopping Isaiah Wynn, allegedly, but if they are, Producer Jack's our Patriots fan. I'm sorry, bud. I don't know what they're doing. I don't understand it if they trade away Isaiah Wynn. Maybe Yadni could just is the future or Durant's the future, whatever it is. I'm confused. Teams need linemen. Wynn's a pretty solid one. Buffalo Bills, A.J. Epinesa, they do have depth along that defensive line spot. You sign Von Miller. You draft Gregory Rousseau and Boogie Basham in round 1 and 2 in the 2021 draft. Shaq Lawson's flashed. Do you need 5 edges? Former second-rounder Epinesa could draw some trade value. Mike Gesicki plus Preston Williams, obvious trade candidates since the Dolphins are shopping him apparently, which, okay, it's kind of weird. Gesicki's not a great blocker. I think that's part of the issue. But who wants to pay him $10+ million for 1 year with no flexibility? I don't think he gets dealt, but amidst the trade rumors, he's got to be on this list. Now, I got a few more names here. I'm getting a little tired, but I'm going to power through. And I want you to head down to the comments section and let me know a player you think gets dealt. Maybe it's on my list. Maybe it's not. Sound off in the comments section. How about Denzel Mims? I liked him coming out of Baylor. He has not done much in very few opportunities in his NFL career. A meager 31 catches, but you have Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios. Mims is receiver 5 with no real special teams value. And that's a guy you often end up shopping. Jeff Swaim might be tight end 3 for Tennessee this year. They don't have very many, I think, good trade candidates on their roster. I know he's been linked a few times from Bleacher Report, so I threw him in here. But I like Chico Conquo and Austin Hooper. Maybe you find a taker for Swaim and get a draft pick back since you've spent multiple picks now on backup safeties / nickel corners. Kind of weird. How about Laviska Shenault Jr.? I loved him at Colorado. He just hasn't been good in Jacksonville. Hands are an issue. He doesn't get open. He's an after-the-catch machine who you have to scheme for. And those guys have less value in the NFL. And also, he's not the most dynamic. From a pure high-end, he's almost a running back, with his build and everything. So, if you need a receiver 4, sure, try it. I don't know how good he'll end up being. The drops last year, major problem. He had 8 of them on a small target share. Texans offense lineman Max Sharping, kind of stuck, hybrid. Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? Buried on the depth chart. Prime trade chip for a team that would like some offensive line depth. And finally, Indianapolis Colts edge rusher Ben Banigou, who I liked him more than LJ Collier. I just realized this. We started with a TCU edge and ended with one. Didn't even do it that way. Funny how that turns out, right? I like Banigou more than Collier. It didn't matter who you like more. They've both been bad. He's got athletic ability. Injuries have been a problem as well. Gamble if you want. But Colts, there's a reason they got Yannick Ngakoue and drafted 2 guys last year early on.